Hi, my name is Firdaus Hussain. I'm the Regional Ethanol Consultant for the US Grains Council. Today, we're going to have a look at the ethanol supply, production, and outlook in the US and also here in Asia. Overall, the US led the world in ethanol production in 2019 with an estimated total output of 15.8 billion gallons. 26 states are home to 205 biorefineries with a total installed capacity of 17 million gallons per year, although half of the total nameplate capacity is found in Iowa, Nebraska, and Illinois alone. On average, the plants are running at about 92% capacity at any given time. With advancing agricultural technology, farmers are becoming more efficient in growing crops, corn crops harvesting a robust 168 bushels of corn per acre in 2019 for a total production of 13.7 billion bushels. Meanwhile, agriculture producers have been in, sorry, meanwhile, agriculture producers have been reducing per bushel inputs like land, fertilizer, water. Farmers now have access to GPS guided seed planting and soil data analytics to assist them in planting their crops. This gives them more yields per bushels yields per acre as compared to where they started back in the 1920s and 30s. The US economy benefits a lot from from an ethanol industry. 2019 was a relatively challenging year with trade policy decisions that pressured down global crop marketing, coupled with bad weather and creating havoc across the US Corn Belt. Many looked past. Many were looking for a fresh start in 2020. Last year, U.S. ethanol had grossed over $21 billion and its co-products had contributed about over $7 billion in gross value. Now, based on average prices and product yields in 2019, a typical dry mill of ethanol plant added about roughly $1.20 of additional value, which is equivalent to 31% value to every bushel of corn processed. In 2019 alone, the production of 15.8 billion gallons of ethanol and 39.6 million metric tons of co-products and distillers oil had substantial economic impact, including close to 69,000 direct jobs, 280,000 indirect and induced jobs, over 43 billion contribution to the GDP, and 23.3 billion in household income. Ethanol market has increased significantly, especially in the last 10 years. A decade ago, the world export market was slightly above 750 million, a billion, sorry, 750 million gallons. Today, the market has grown almost 330% since then to a whopping 2.5 billion export market, as many countries adopt the use of ethanol either for fuel or industrial use. The US now holds about 61% of world exports, making them the single biggest top exporter for both denatured and anhydrous ethanol. Brazil holds about 25% market share with a total output of 8.6 billion gallons per year. The European Union at 4%, China at 2%, and India at 2%. In recent years, we have seen a growing use of ethanol globally, with just over 13 billion gallons in 2000 to more than 29 billion gallons in 2019. Last year, ethanol totaled nearly 2.5 billion gallons as countries increasingly recognize the role for trade in meeting policy mandates. More than 60 countries currently have ethanol policies, a number that is growing as more and more countries seek this opportunity to capture the environmental, human health, and economic benefits of ethanol. And the US Grains Council is in the forefront of developing these partnerships around the globe to expand the worldwide use of ethanol and the worldwide global ethanol market. Now, it wouldn't be right if we don't address the elephant in the room. COVID 19 has significant impacts on the global ethanol market. We saw this year overnight demand disappearance. Gasoline demand dropped 50% in most countries due to stay at home orders. People are not moving around in the city, not as much anymore. Businesses are closed, and that has significant impact on global gasoline demand, and refineries are running at a low capacity. That has significant impact on ethanol because less blending for E10 or even 5% or whatever the amount is. Half of US ethanol industry is offline or operating under capacity, but today we have about 90% back online. Based on current export data, the numbers are much lower as compared to 2019 or even the previous years. This is simply because of lack of demand on the fuel side. With the global glut of crude oil, price is pressuring down on price pressure is easing as April as for on crude oil. Now currently crude oil is about $40 per barrel. It makes it difficult for use of ethanol when gasoline is much cheaper. While we see some recovery beginning in China, the European Union, and the US, but many countries are still slow in opening their countries, and we may see things getting a bit harder as structural change occurs. But all that on the fuel side is changing. We see an increase in demand for industrial ethanol, especially in hand sanitizers, as more countries have a requirement to use hand sanitizers for sanitization, and this has significantly impacted the global ethanol use. Now, in terms of impact on global ethanol production, forecast is down 20% in 2020, and we could probably not see a recovery not until 2022. This year itself, the total ethanol production was just about 90 billion gallons, 90 billion liters, as compared to the year before, it was well above 115 billion liters. This is namely because of lower production volumes out of each of these individual countries, and also demand disappearance, as we talked about previously. Now, the US ethanol export market has been quite strong in previous years. We've significantly export out our ethanol to the three biggest countries, which is Brazil, Canada, and India, have been the biggest importers of US ethanol. Previously, back in 2016, right until 2018, we've seen some flows into China, but that has significantly reduced due to trade tariff. Now, Brazil has been the second largest exporter of ethanol. They're also the biggest buyer of US ethanol with an average of 386 million gallons per year from 2016 to 2019. Canada and India has been the second and third biggest importers of US ethanol with an average of 327 million gallons and 152 million gallons respectively. This chart is just to show you how much volumes are flowing as compared to the previous years. Fuel ethanol exports is down 6.8% in the first half of 2020. This is hampered by this is mainly due to a poor second quarter as many countries go into lockdown. The ones in red are just showing, although there are volumes flowing into these countries, but we're seeing lower demand or lower import volumes into these countries as compared to the year before. Canada and Brazil are showing lower volumes exported into these countries, However, Mexico and Europe are showing slightly higher volumes compared to the year. India still stays strong this year, um, due mainly due to industrial ethanol demand, and the use of sanitizers and other uses for to combat the COVID-19 in India. Now, many countries are adopting biofuels as an option for renewable energy. Ethanol is still widely used in fuel due to its high octane rating and environmentally friendly benefits. Just to highlight a couple of countries, Indonesia has already a pre-blended ethanol I wouldn't say mandate, in a 3% inclusion rate that is allowed in their fuels, and is allowed as way of pre-blended. That means that Indonesia now allows fuel traders or gasoline blenders to blend 3% of ethanol into their fuel, and they are allowed in their specifications as an import. Indonesia currently does not blend any ethanol because of trade sorry because of tariff of imported ethanol, and the production of ethanol in Indonesia is not enough to meet the 3%. Philippines has an E10 blend mandate, which is currently in place. um, Colombia has an ethanol 10%, which is an E10. Brazil has a effective blend of 27.5%. India has an E10 blend mandate as well, but the current national average blend is approximately about 5% currently. Now, why are many beginning to adopt ethanol in fuels? I think it's mainly driven by three main categories. First is the security. Agriculture products are renewable and grown throughout the year. The security of these feedstocks are important to promote a stable output. Now, countries seem to use countries seems to shy away from having to use too much fossil fuels. They want to reduce their dependency on fossil fuels because agricultural products are grown widely, especially in Southeast Asia, and having a security of these products will promote the stable output of this of fuels. Biofuels and ethanol in biofuels also helps promote prosperity and demand for agricultural products, in turn creating more jobs and help economic growth. Thirdly is sustainability. Non-crop feedstock like agricultural waste can be and will be preferred for future biofuels and chemicals. Ethanol today can be the low carbon fuel that will help to reduce emissions. Ethanol has major benefits, as you all know. Firstly, the health benefits. Ethanol displaces hydrocarbon substances like aromatics in gasoline. This in turn helps reduce emissions uh, of air toxics along with particulate matter, carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxide, and exhaust hydrocarbons. This ethanol in turn also helps the environment by reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Corn ethanol from a typical dry mill only has 40 to 45% lower greenhouse gas emissions than gasoline. And the third benefit, which everyone kind of looks at today, well, not as necessarily today, but prior to this, is economic, and how beneficial it is to the country. Historically, ethanol has been cheaper than other oxygenates, making it a viable option in terms of a gasoline blending component. ethanol is in recent years has historically is lower price than MTBE, and to some years in 2017 and 2018 is cheaper than gasoline itself, making it a viable blending component. Now, um, the expansion of ethanol in Southeast Asia, specifically is in Philippines, the current blend rate of ethanol fuel is 8.87%. Now, the Department of Energy Environment wants to make available 85% blend to be promoted by 2025. In Vietnam, however, E5 fuel is only available for RON 92. Vietnam now has a policy goal to move to E10 by 2020, but it's probably likely to be delayed due to COVID-19. In Indonesia, there's a roadmap to achieve E10 by 2025. The current effective blending rate, or the current inclusion rate for ethanol, is 3%, but it's only achieved through imported pre-blended fuel. Now, in recent months or in recent years, big oil companies are heavily investing their resources in biofuels. We've seen the partnership between Shell and Kosan to build a JV company called Ryzen. Ryzen now is the third biggest ethanol producer in Brazil and has offices around the world to promote ethanol. Now, similarly, big oil majors like BP has partnered with big agriculture company called Bunge to promote biofuels or to promote ethanol in Brazil. This partnership makes them the second biggest ethanol exporter out of Brazil. Oil major Total has invested in biorefineries in France to help export out or produce ethanol to feed the growing market in the European Union. Trafigura, together with its Trafigura itself is trading ethanol out of the U.S. Gulf Coast, and together with their Puma partnership, they have successfully established an import delivery, gasoline blending, and ethanol distribution system in Puerto Rico. Similarly, trade and distribute in North Africa and the Middle East. So all these big companies are diversifying and looking heavily into biofuels, and there's a big potential because they see a big potential in ethanol specifically. Now, just to share with you, this picture paints a picture paints a thousand words, and if you look at Los Angeles back in 2007, you can see how heavily polluted the air is as compared to Los Angeles today. Global ethanol production and the use is estimated to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 110 million tons every year. This is equivalent of taking nearly 20 million vehicles off the road each year. Ethanol is a clean burning fuel that has 40 to 90% less carbon than toxic additives it replaces in gasoline. So these two pictures are a perfect example of how countries or cities can benefit from the use of ethanol to improve air quality in their respective countries or cities. With that, I conclude my presentation here today. If there's any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly or any of the Grains Council staff. Thank you.